Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Can do it for you don't have to. It's okay. Can somebody take the mridanga, please? Okay, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 8, text number 53. Shri Kim Purusha Uchu Vayam Kim Purushas Tvam Tu Mahapurusha Ishvara Ayam Kim Purusho Nashto Dhik. Oh, did I say Kim Purusho? Yeah. Sorry. Ku Purusho Nashto Dhikrataha Sadhubir Yada Shri Kim Purusha Uchu Vayam Kim Purushastvam Tu Mahapurusha Ishvaraha Ayam Ku Purusho Nashto Dhikrata Sadhubir Yada Shri Kim Purusha Uchu Vayam Kim Purushastvam Tu Mahapurusha Ishvaraha Ayam Ku Purusho Nashto Dhikrita Sadhubir Yada Shri Kim Purusha Uchu Vayam Kim Purushastvam Tu Mahapurusha Ishvaraha. Ayam ku purusho nashto. Dhikrita sadhu viryada.
Shri Kim Purusha Uchu. Vayam Kim Purushastrandu. Mahapurusha Ishvaraha. Ayam Kupurusho Nashto. Dikritak Sadhu Viriyada.
Shri Kim Purusha Uchu.
Shri Kim Purusha Uchu.
Vayam Kim Purushastvam tu.
Ayam Kim Purushastvam tu.
Mahapurusha Ishvara.
Mahapurusha Ishvaraha.
Ayam Kum Purusho Nashto.
Ayam Kupurusho Nashto.
Ikrita Sadviryata.
Dikritak Sadhu Viriyada.
Shri Guru Purusha Satanchu.
Shri Kim Purusha Uchu.
Vayam Kupurusha Sarvam
Vayam Kim Purushastvam tu.
Mahapurusha Ishvaha.
Mahapurusha Ishvara.
Vayam Kupurusha Nasto.
Ayam Kupurusho Nashto.
Dikyam Sadhubhya Saham.
Dikritak Sadhu Viriyada. Shri Kim Purusha Uchu.
Vayam Kupurusha Swamtu.
Ayam Kim Purushastvam tu.
Mahapurusha Ishvaraha.
Mahapurusha Ishvara.
Vayam Kupurusha Nasto.
Ayam Kupurusho Nashto.
Dikrita Sadhubhiryada.
Dikrita Sadviryada.
Anybody online?
Shri Kim Purusha Uchu. Vayam Kim Purushastvam-tu.
Ayam Kim Purushastvam tu.
Mahapurusha Ishvaraha.
Mahapurusha Ishvara.
Ayam Kupurusho Nashto.
Ayam Kupurusho Nashto.
Dikrita Sadhubir Yada.
Dikrita Sadhu Viriyada.
Shri Kim Purusha Uchu.
Shri Kim Purusha Uchu.
Vayam Kim Purusha Stamtu.
Ayam Kim Purushastvam tu.
Mahapurusha Ishvara.
Mahapurusha Ishvara.
Ayam Kupurusha Nasto.
Ayam Kupurusho Nashto.
Dhikrita Sadhubir Yata.
Dikrita Sadhu Viriyada.
Sorry. Shri Kim Purusha Uchuhu. The inhabitants of Kim Purusha Loka said, Vayam, we, Kim Purushaha, the inhabitants of Kim Purusha Loka, or insignificant living entities. Tvam, your lordship. Tu, however, Mahapurushaha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvaraha, the Supreme Controller. Ayam, this, Kupurushaha, most sinful person. Hiranyakashipu, Nashtaha, slain. Dikrataha, being condemned. Sadhubihi, by the saintly persons. Yada, when. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The inhabitants of Kim Purusha Loka said, we are insignificant living entities, and you are the Supreme Controller. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller. Therefore, how can we offer suitable prayers unto you? When this demon was condemned by devotees because they were disgusted with him, he was then killed by you. Purport. The cause of the Supreme Lord's appearance upon this earth is stated in Bhagavad-gītā 4:7-8 by the Lord himself. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharatah abhyuttanam dharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever and wherever there is a decrease in religious principles and a predominant rise in irreligion, at that time I descend myself. To deliver the pious and annihilate their miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I advent myself, millennium after millennium. The Lord appears in order to execute two kinds of activities, to kill the demons and to protect the devotees. When the devotees are too disturbed by the demons, the Lord certainly appears in different incarnations to give the devotees protection. The devotees following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj should not be disturbed by the demoniac activities of the non-devotees. Rather, they should stick to their principles as sincere servants of the Lord and rest assured that the demoniac activities directed against them will not be able to stop their devotional service. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Before I actually speak on this verse, it is the appearance day of Srimati Janava Mata, Srimati Sita Devi, the consort of Lord Ramachandra, and the appearance day also, I think appearance day or disappearance. It's appearance day of Sri Madhu Pandit Goswami. So I'll just speak briefly about each of them. Firstly, Sita Devi. Sita Devi is the consort of Lord Sri Ramachandra. She's the daughter of Janaka Maharaj. And she appeared actually from the earth. Actually, there was some Janak Maharaj was plowing land and found her in the earth. She's especially known for being a extremely chaste woman, chaste wife, and a very surrendered servant of Lord Ram. So she's especially, you could say in a more mundane sense, known as the perfect woman, extremely chaste, and yes, and also a servant of Lord Ram. So she's especially glorified for this. She was kidnapped by She was kidnapped by Ravana, or at least it appeared so. And after she was rescued by Lord Ram, there was this Agni Pariksha, this test, to test whether Sita Devi, to test basically whether she was loyal or not. So she went into fire, and it was basically said if she came out on the other side, then she was in fact pure and chaste. And she did that. She walked into fire, into the Agni Pariksha, and came right out. And so it's described actually that her chastity wasn't defiled by Ravana, because actually when Ravana kidnapped her, Agnidev took the real Sita, and Ravana was able to kidnap a Maya Sita. So yes, she's especially glorified for her chastity and for her service to Lord Ram and her purity. She disappeared by going back into the earth, in brief. Now, Janava Mata, another very powerful woman in our Sampradaya. Well, I guess Lord Ram's not exactly in our Sampradaya, in the sense that he's God. But another worshipable personality for us. Janava Mata was the wife of Nityananda Prabhu, one of his wives. And she, after the disappearance of Mahaprabhu, became a great preacher, actually. And she was acknowledged, actually, as the head of the Gaudiya Sampradaya at that time. Narottam Das Thakur put on this Khetri festival, this festival in Khetri in Bangladesh, which was a very solidifying or formative event for the Gaudiya Sampradaya, because previously, before then, there wasn't really so much of an idea that, okay, this is a Sampradaya and we have like a specific, darshan, you could say. certainly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had teachings, and certainly Mahaprabhu had followers, but it wasn't as organized as maybe one would say a sampradaya is. So this Khetri festival, Narottam Das Thakur and his disciples called all of the Vaishnavas from Bengal, Orissa, and they all congregated in Khetri, in Narottam Das Thakur's hometown. And at that time, they all got together and basically solidified that these are the teachings and this is the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Janava Mata, she was such an elevated personality, so highly regarded, that actually she was asked to preside over the festival, and she actually cooked everything. She headed all the cooking, and she actually served all the Vaishnavas with her own hand, the wife of Nityananda Prabhu. So she's a very, very elevated personality. There's many other pastimes with her. Her preaching. There's one pastime in a village where she was basically targeted by some tantrics. So there's many, many things to say about Janava Mata. But I'll leave it at that. Now, Madhu Pandit Goswami is a devotee who lived in Vrindavan. At the time, actually, he was a contemporary of Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivasacharya, just after Mahaprabhu, kind of like the generation after Mahaprabhu. And he's especially known for the worship of the Gopinath deity in Vrindavan. The Gopinath is the deity of Prayojana, or he symbolizes the ultimate goal. There's three presiding deities. There's the first one is for Sambandha Radha Madan Mohan, and he's also in Vrindavan, Sanatan Goswami's deity. And then there's Divya Dhandaranya Kalpadrumadar Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Preshtali Bhe Sevyamano Smarami. Then there's the Abhideya Acharya, or the Abhideya, the deity presiding over Abhideya. Radha Govinda, Rupa Goswami's deity. And Gopinath, Madhu Pandit Goswami's deity, is the presiding deity of Prayojana, or the ultimate goal. So one notable pastime with him is that before Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivasacharya and Shyamananda Pandit went to preach, distribute the books of the Goswamis throughout Bengal, Madhu Pandit blessed them with a garland from Gopinathji. So those are some things. His samadhi is in Vrindavan next to the temple. Very nice little samadhi. There's a nice, I was there like a year and a half ago, and there's a nice little like goshala there, like this like small, it's like a hallway actually. You just walk through, there's like some cows in there. There's like this nice, there's like not a lot of like little cute calves and cows. Anyway, that's a memory of mine. So yes, those are the personalities whose appearance day is today, and so I'll just move on to the Bhagavatam now. So here we're hearing about the prayers of the Kimpurushas. The Kimpurushas are inhabitants of the planet Kimpurusha Loka, although not everybody on Kimpurusha Loka is actually a Kimpurusha. There's actually said to be some Gandharvas also living there, and other personalities. But the Kimpurushas are something like half man, half monkey. Yeah. Yeah. So Kim means what or how, and Purusha means man. So the literal translation of Kim Purusha is this a man, or how is this a man, or what kind of man is this? Kinnaras, yeah. They're related. They're related, somewhat related to Kim Purushas, yeah. So yes, Hanuman is a Kim Purusha, and Krishna says, Kim Purushanam Hanuman. He says, of the Kim Purushas, I am Hanuman. So Hanuman is a Kim Purusha, so we get that, we can have that image in our head. They're Hanuman-like personalities. They're said to be more man than ape. So they're maybe like 60-40, 60% man, maybe perhaps 40% ape. Yeah. So yes, they're praying here to Mahapurusha. There's some nice wordplay in this verse. Kim Purusha, Mahapurusha, and Kupurusha. They're describing themselves as Kim Purushas, which is the name of their race, but also Kim Purusha means Vayam Kim Purusha. Vayam Kim Purusha is what kind of people, what kind of controllers are we? What kind of enjoyers are we? We're very insignificant. But you are Mahapurusha, Mahapurusha Ishvara. You're not only the supreme enjoyer, but you're the supreme controller. And this Kupurusha, this nasty, horrible person has been killed by you. Specifically, it says, when this demon was condemned by devotees because they were disgusted with him, he was then killed by you, which is a very significant point. And Srila Prabhupada quotes these two very seminal verses in the Bhagavad-gītā. Pretty much everybody knows these verses if they don't know anything. If they don't know anything else in Bhagavad-gītā, those who know.
I had a whole group of Indian came.
Mm-hmm.
And I cited this for Yada, and I said, you grew up learning it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, these are very, very famous verses in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, wherein Krishna describes that wherever and whenever there is a decrease in dharma and an increase in adharma, at that time and at that place I invent myself, specifically to annihilate those miscreants who are spreading adharma and to bolster and protect the devotees who are spreading dharma. In this connection, Baladev Vidyabhushana describes within these reasons given 3 reasons why the Lord incarnates. And Srila Prabhupada also in his commentary comments on this. He advents to one thing is because the devotees feel separation from the Lord. They desire to see the Lord. And so the Lord appears on one hand to present himself before the devotees, to reveal himself, to reveal his beautiful form so that the devotees can be enlivened. That's one way that he protects them. Another reason is to also establish pure bhakti by seeing the relationships between, just like we're seeing here, this canto, the 7th canto, one of the topics of the main topic of the 7th canto is uti, or inclination. Mainly it's contrasting the inclination between Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad. Prahlad being the real star of the show, and specifically his relationship and the love that he shares with Nrsimhadev. So the Lord appears to showcase this pure bhakti, to please his devotees, and also to showcase and establish pure bhakti and pure meditation on him. And Baladev Vidyabhushana also describes deity worship too. So he does that, and he also establishes Vedic Dharma, meaning like Smarta, Smriti, all the rules and regulations of Vedic Dharma. So those 3 reasons, for those 3 reasons he comes. And we can see pretty much all of them here, actually, that Nrsimhadev incarnated to reveal himself before Prahlad. He came out of the pillar to make Prahlad's word true. And he revealed his beautiful, amazing form to Prahlad and to all the devotees. He also established pure bhakti by showing, like I mentioned, Prahlad Maharaj's relationship with him. And as we're hearing in these prayers, not only did he establish pure bhakti, but he also reestablished all other kinds of Vedic dharma. The Prajapatis are talking about, how they're, able to create progeny. The Manus are talking about how we can maintain Varnashram now. And the Rishis were talking about how they can engage in tapasya now. So all these other dharmas are also being reestablished. And Baladev Vidyabhushana specifically points out this word samsthapana. Sthapana means to establish, but samsthapana means to establish very correctly. Just like we have kirtan and we have sankirtan. Dravida Prabhu mentioned last night, I was on the altar, I heard, that this prefix sam, it means It can mean together or completely, but in this case it means very thoroughly and very correctly, in such a way that nobody else can do it. Only Krishna can establish Dharma so thoroughly and so correctly. So those are some reasons why the Lord incarnates. There was one other thing I was going to say. Oh yes, and also, as is being mentioned in this verse, this demon was condemned by devotees because they were disgusted with him, and he was then killed by you. One of the things that Baladev Vidyabhushana brings up in his commentary to 4.7 Bhagavad-gītā is, or no, sorry, this is 4.8. He says, well, he brings up like the Purva Paksha. Purva Paksha in traditional commentary means like the opposing viewpoint. And so you give an opposing viewpoint, and then you establish your viewpoint in contrast to that viewpoint. So Baladev Vidyabhushana brings up somebody, he's speaking from the perspective of an opponent, saying, well, why couldn't your devotees just establish? Why do you have to come yourself? Why couldn't your devotees just establish these Rajarshis that you've put into power? Why can't they just spread Dharma? And he says specifically that the Lord comes when there is demons that nobody else can kill. And this is said in a number of places. This isn't Baladev Vidyabhushana's idea. That the Lord comes specifically to kill demons that are so powerful that nobody can kill them. And so the example is given of Ravana. Nobody could kill Ravana. Ravana is just like insanely powerful. Same with Hiranyakashipu. No man could kill Hiranyakashipu. No animal could kill Hiranyakashipu. No deva could kill Hiranyakashipu. He had all these benedictions. Nobody, practically speaking, in the material world could kill him. So, therefore, Nrsimhadev came himself in just like a perfect, suitable form to rip him to pieces without breaking Lord Brahma's promise. Kamsa was a very powerful person. Nobody could kill Kamsa. So Krishna came and he killed him. So like this, the Lord comes to establish Dharma, not just Vedic Dharma, but also pure Bhagavad Dharma, Bhakti, and to protect the devotees, annihilate the miscreants, and also to enliven the devotees, not just to protect them, but to enliven them and to increase their love for him and thicken the relationship there. One other thing which is emphasized in this verse, it's a very interesting statement. When this demon was condemned by devotees because they were disgusted with him, he was then killed by you. Showing the Kimpurushas here are talking about the saintly, in the Sanskrit actually, what the Sanskrit says is sadhus. Sadhus can just mean saintly persons, and that's what Srila Prabhupada, the word for word, gives the translation. But it seems that Srila Prabhupada is specifically emphasizing that when the demon was condemned by devotees, specific devotees of Krishna, Vaishnavas, then he was killed by you, which is a very important point, that Vaishnavas, or the association of Vaishnavas, can make or break a particular person, depending on how he associates with them. In our Shastra, it's emphasized over and over and over and over again. Srila Prabhupada, all of our acharyas emphasize that the association of Vaishnavas is extremely important. That Krishna consciousness, satam prasangan mama virya sambuddho, that actually that the Krishna consciousness is not actually even properly relished outside of the association of devotees. It's not even properly executed alone. It has to be executed in the association of devotees. Now, what is that association? That association is to engage in that process of devotional service in cooperation with one another, respectfully, with love. Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction, he gives these 6 loving exchanges. Dadati pratigritnati, guhyama kyati prichati, bhunkte bhojayate chaiva, shadvadam priti lakshanam. These loving exchanges that devotees engage in, or should engage in, as a matter of duty, if nothing else. that one should, dadati, to give and receive gifts, to give and receive prasadam, and to inquire confidentially, or to ask questions and to also reveal one's mind. So these are exchanges, it's back and forth. So in this way the devotees exchange love, and by exchanging love like that they become closer. And by becoming closer, to put it in kind of vague terms maybe perhaps, there's a synergy there, that one's devotional service, well, the real thing is that it reduces envy, actually. That's the real thing. If one engages in loving exchanges with others and gives himself and allows others to give themselves to him in love, then envy is reduced. And when this envy is reduced, and this is just one perspective, when this envy is reduced, then devotional service, the service of Krishna goes on in a very nice way. Srila Prabhupada describes in the Nectar of Devotion how this envy is not present in the spiritual world. That when a devotee, he gives the example of when a devotee sees how nicely another devotee is serving Krishna, then he doesn't become envious. He doesn't say like, oh, he's doing so much better than me, let me drag him down, or let me try to get ahead of him. No, he sees this devotee is rendering such nice service to Krishna, and Krishna is so pleased. Let me see how I can also please Krishna, and let me see how I can add to the mix, how I can increase Krishna's pleasure even more. And so in this way, Krishna becomes pleased when there's nice relationships between Vaishnavas, because even just on a practical level, his service goes on very nicely. Another reason is that on an individual level, Vaishnavas need the blessings of other Vaishnavas. The Vaishnavas are the doorkeepers, practically speaking, to the storehouse of love of God. And it's described that without, like Narottam Das Thakur he describes, he says, Hori sthane oporadhe na tare hori nam tomasthane oporadhe nahi paritran. He says that if one, it's relevant. He says if one offends Krishna, then one can chant the holy name and that offense can be mitigated. But if one offends a Vaishnava, he says nothing can save you. Nahi paritran. Nothing can save you. Nothing will. Well, yes, but in some places it also describes that Krishna is offended by that, and Krishna doesn't forgive. Now that's also there, of course. Yeah, if the Vaishnava forgives you, then yes. But there's also another perspective that there's nothing to mitigate Vaishnava aparad because Krishna is so personally offended by it. Yes.
I heard Jajuna Swami Maharaj, he said that lotus Rajarenu from lotus feet not forgive. Vaishnava can forgive, but
Yeah. So yes, without the blessings of Vaishnavas, nothing in one's spiritual life will be able to fructify. And it's a very practical point. If one is offending devotees, then why should Krishna let such a person into the kingdom of God? Why should he give him love of God? Srila Prabhupada brings up this phrase. He says, "Love me, love my dog." So in the same way, if we love Krishna, then we love things in relation to Krishna. That's the Madhyama platform. And the Uttama platform is there also. But it's not just that it's me and Krishna, but that actually we love things in relation to Krishna too. And if we don't, then we haven't made sufficient spiritual advancement and we won't achieve the desired success. So, yes, this verse, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing that the reason that Hiranyakashipu, one of the main reasons he was killed, was because he was condemned by the devotees. And Krishna's devotees are so dear to him that he says, okay, I'll kill him, I'll take him away. And this brings up another point, which we touched on earlier, but that the devotees who are engaged in devotional service, even though so many things might be impinging on that devotional service or obstacles to that devotional service, still Srila Prabhupada brings up the point that devotees of the Lord, servants of the Lord, should rest assured that the demoniac activities directed against them will not be able to stop their devotional service. Devotional service, Prahlad Maharaj describes Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam. That there are these 9 processes of devotional service beginning with hearing. And although certain demoniac personalities like Hiranyakashipu might impose some obstacles on the devotee's engagement in devotional service, still there's always something that a Vaishnava can do in the service of the Lord. If nothing else, he can remember Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj, for instance, is the clear example in this regard, that he was in such a difficult situation. I wouldn't even just say such a difficult situation. He was in so many difficult situations due to his fathers trying to kill him. He was being, thrown off a cliff, they were trying to boil him in oil, stab him, poison him, cut him up, cast curses and hexes on him, all kinds of different things. And in such a situation, what could Prahlad Maharaj do? He couldn't, he couldn't do archanam, he couldn't do, maybe he could do some kind of vandanam, or he could do this or that. But what is he remembered for? He's remembered for remembering. He's remembered specifically for remembering Krishna. So devotional service, yes, one's engagement in maybe a particular kind of devotional service might be hampered by something or other. For instance, if one has a broken leg, if somebody breaks their leg, or like Dainiti Prabhu, got some surgery on his legs some time ago. He couldn't worship the deity, but there's something he could do. He could chant, he could remember, he could read, he could hear, he could speak, so many things. So devotional service is impossible to be stopped if the devotees have sufficient faith in Krishna, if the devotee is sufficiently surrendered to Krishna. Kanishta means, we translate it as novice or neophyte, but Kanishta literally means ka, kind of like the same thing as ku here, ku, or like bad or unstable, and nishta means steadiness. So Kanishta Adhikari, a Vaishnava on the Kanishta platform, it means that he's unsteady. It means that external things can shake his faith, external things can shake his engagement in devotional service. But for a devotee on the platform of Nishta, Parinishta devotee, then nothing can shake him. Nothing can shake his engagement in devotional service, because he has the proper intelligence. Krishna says in the second chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, Dani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha, that you should control the senses and engage them in my service. Then he says, Vashehi yasendriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. And when you do that, when the senses are sufficiently subordinate to me, to my will, then one is established in, then one is a sthita prajna. One is established in transcendental intelligence. And by this transcendental intelligence, one can always think of some way to serve Krishna. And if you can't think of any way to externally serve Krishna, at least thinking of serving Krishna, thinking of different ways to serve Krishna, that becomes your service. So there's always something to do in service of Krishna. And when devotees are, like Prahlad Maharaj, are experiencing that demoniac activities are being directed against them, this is their meditation. They think, of course, on a practical level, we think, how can this be stopped? But we don't think, how can this be stopped because of our own, desires, of our own, interest, Krishna says, Nirashir nirmamo buddha yudhyasva vigatajjara. He tells Arjuna, he says, be without desire, be without any external desires, and be without any false ego, but at the same time, without being without vigatajjara, without despondency or without lethargy. That's the word Prabhupada uses. Fight. So, on one hand, devotees are always thinking of ways that they can serve Krishna, but on the other hand, they should, it's not necessarily that in every situation we should be like Prahlad Maharaj in the sense that we just tolerate and do nothing about it. Now, of course, depending on the situation, Prahlad Maharaj was in a particular situation where he couldn't do anything about it. So devotees should use their intelligence, should analyze what in this situation can I do to serve Krishna, and part of that service to Krishna might be getting rid of this demoniac influence, not just that we tolerate, or these demoniac activities directed toward us. Like, for instance, Srila Prabhupada, in many cases, people were blaspheming him, blaspheming Krishna, insulting his movement, insulting his disciples, and in many cases Srila Prabhupada fought. That was his service. But it has to be, of course, understood with discrimination. The situation has to be understood. So, yes, in conclusion, the Kimpurushas are offering prayers here, describing themselves as insignificant living entities, describing Krishna as a supreme living entity, or the supreme controller, supreme personality of Godhead, because he came for the sake of establishing Dharma and establishing Bhakti and enlivening Prahlad Maharaj and the other devotees, and to kill Hiranyakashipu, who was condemned by the devotees who were disgusted with him, and who was sufficiently powerful that nobody in the material world could kill him. And Srila Prabhupada is bringing up in the purport that that the devotees following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj should not be disturbed by the demoniac activities of the non-devotees. Rather, they should stick to their principles as sincere servants of the Lord. That's the real thing. So, those are some thoughts. If there's any comments or questions on any of these points.
Hare Krishna.
Vijay, 1 second. There's several verses that I thought of as you were describing why Krishna comes. Of course, Yadaya Dhamasa Paratanaya. But there's this other verse near the end, almost at the very end of the description of the rasa dance. And if you allow me to share it. Oh, wait a minute. That's not it. Yeah, here. I don't know if you know this one. Anugrahaya bhaktanam manusham dehamastitaha bhajate tadrushi kridha yashutva tatparo bhavet. When the Lord assumes a human-like body to show mercy to his devotees, he engages in such pastimes as will attract those who hear about them to become dedicated to him. So this is for the devotees who were there when he actually appears. You read the 10th canto when the Vijvasis are always recounting Krishna's Lila, how he killed this demon, whatever. But also, it renews the remembrance so that it's then written down, and so that's another thing. And then the other thing I was thinking of, if you allow me to share this, and that is in the 11th canto, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Anyway, there's these verses describing, I think it's one of the 9 Yogendras, and how devotees relating to each other. Paraspadanu katadam, pavanam bhagavad-gītā, mitodati mitastastir, nivrita mitaratmanaha. They get together and they glorify Krishna's activities. And in so doing, they build friendships between each other. Mito rati, mitastustir, and mutual satisfaction. And also they strengthen each other's renunciation. And then the next verse is similar starts. It has this famous line, Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. By engaging in this activity, of getting together and glorifying Krishna, then that sadhana bhakti eventually matures into Bhava Bhakti. So that's very, very nice. You know, the Bhagavatam is filled with that. Satam Prasangan you quoted.
What chapter is that in the 11th canto?
You know, I found it here, but I'll
Okay, and I can look up. I remember. Yeah,
I'll
it was Bhakti Sanjataya Bhakti. Yes, Sankarshan Prabhuji.
Thank you for. My question was, I had a few actually. The first one, can you repeat that one part about Rupa Goswami and his deity, like what it represented? What was it called?
So there's three deities in Vrindavan which represent the three what would you call them, aspects or stages of devotional service. There's Sambandha. Mm-hmm. Sambandha this is described in the Mangalacharan of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there's Sambandha. Sambandha means like initial knowledge. Sambandha Gyan is like knowledge of who I am as the soul and my relationship with Krishna, my relationship with the world. So that's Sambandha. And Radha Madan Mohan, he or they specifically, I guess, represent this. And it's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Madan Mohan means that he bewilders Cupid. He's so attractive that he bewilders Cupid. So Madan Mohan, he attracts the living entities initially to devotional service. And then there's Abhideya. Abhideya is like the process of devotional service, or like the means to get to the goal, Abhideya. So Radha Govinda represents that. And there's reasons given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then there's Prayojana. Prayojana is like the goal, Prema Bhakti. And Gopinathji, he represents that.
Just two more questions. It said in the purport that devotees were disgusted at one part. I was kind of confused about that, why is a devotee disgusted from a demon? Is that like, if they were like practicing, wouldn't they have like more compassion, or you get it, kind of like?
Why were they? It seemed like they were feeling some aversion, and Krishna describes that one should be vitaraga bhaya krodha, that one should be free from attachment and aversion. This seems to be the aversion that devotees feel in the service of Krishna is not the same as the aversion that they feel towards sense gratification. Like, for instance, if somebody puts, a plate of meat, if somebody puts a plate of just some gross food in front of me, and I feel averse, I don't want to eat that. Versus somebody puts a plate of strawberry halva in front of me, and I say, oh yeah, that's really nice, I really like that. Then, for a materialist at least, this is like attachment and aversion, thinking this is good and this is bad. I like this and I don't like this. It's the platform of the mind. And whereas the aversion that devotees feel in the service of the Lord is they're disgusted with Hiranyakashipu because of his offensive activity. And they're disgusted with his demoniac activities and his just like completely putting obstacles in the path of devotional service, and his spreading or bolstering of adharma. So devotees are disgusted with such things. Now, the main way that devotees are, I was going to mention that they're not disgusted with it because they just don't like it. They're disgusted with it because it's hurting people. It's actually sending people to or opening the path, wide open to hell. And so devotees are disgusted with such things. They're angry, actually. Devotees become angry when people put obstacles in the path of devotional service. Why? because and that anger is actually a manifestation of their compassion. Because if people put obstacles in the path of devotional service, then okay, if by becoming disgusted with this one person, yes, this one person, I'm disgusted with them. But why am I disgusted with them? It's out of compassion for everybody else. Everybody else's ability to engage in devotional service is being blocked. So devotees should be disgusted with such things, and such people are condemned by devotees. Now, if Hiranyakashipu said, "Hey, I changed my mind, Haribol Prabhu, like, Nitai Gaur," then of course, the devotees would say, "Okay, great." It's not that they were just disgusted with him and they said, "Okay, he needs to die." But so the main way that devotees express such disgust is by preaching, by removing those obstacles on the path of devotional service by preaching Krishna consciousness in the modern age.
Okay, last one. And then I had two more, but I know there's not time. If Hiranyakashipu is associating kind of with Prahlada Maharaj, he's on like a pure stage, he wasn't like purified enough to have that change of heart, even though like he was like even kind of like
well, it was
him.
a kind of association.
Yeah.
I mean, the association was like for instance, if I associate with a devotee and I just see him as like an object of my sense gratification, you're not going to get much benefit from that. The main when it talks about associating with devotees, I mean, certainly people get some benefit by just like, being around devotees. Even Srila Prabhupada said, seeing tilak on the face of a devotee, people get benefit. But the real thing is to associate with devotees on the basis of devotional service, inquiring from them, engaging in these kind of like loving exchanges. And even somebody who's a complete neophyte in devotional service can associate with devotees on that platform, ask questions about devotional service, be curious about Krishna consciousness, like that. Then they get benefit. Now again, certainly there's some benefit just by seeing or by being related to a devotee, and Hiranyakashipu eventually reaps that benefit. Of course, Hiranyakashipu is also a devotee. In one sense, he's, yeah. So, but at least for the sake of this pastime, he does reap some benefit, like Prahlada Maharaj prayed for him. He requested Nrsimhadev to save him, to save Hiranyakashipu. So in that way, he did reap the benefit of having a devotee as his son. But yeah, it's the kind of association. And even if devotees associate with other devotees, if they don't associate with them properly on the basis of devotional service, then there's very little tangible benefit to doing so. So, of course, it says Lavamatra sadhu sangha service iti hoya. Just by associating with the devotee for a moment, one can achieve all success. But again, it has to be proper association. Because you can associate with a devotee for a second, just before you kill him, But
there is some story, about this Lavamatra.
This very sinful man, he wanted to kill this devotee, and devotee told him that when you come to Yamaraj, then ask him about this. What means this? This Lavamatra, this text. And he really want to kill, but he appeared in Vaikuntha to Vishnu. It's like special person.
Thank you. Okay, Vijay Krishna Prabhu. Oh, Chad has something?
Yes,
Sorry, 1 second. Chad has something.
Hare Krishna. Real quick, how does one benefit from just seeing tilak on a devotee? It's the whole package, right?
Well, one's seeing the mark of Lord Vishnu. So if one sees and sees the mark of Lord Vishnu and sees a Vaishnava, one gets benefit actually, because it's like some small association with Vishnu, some small association with Krishna Narottam Das Thakur says, he says, Hori, sorry, I just quoted that one. He says, Tomar Hridoy, what is it? Tomar Shoda Govinda Bishram Govinda Kohe Mama Vaishnava Puran. He says that he says, oh Vaishnava, Goshai, he says, in your heart Govinda always stays. And Govinda says that my devotees are my life. So the devotees are always carrying Vishnu with them. Of course, everybody's carrying Vishnu with them in the Super Soul, but the devotees especially have some Shakti. They have Vishnu always with them. So just by seeing a devotee, one certainly gets some benefit, because it's some passing association.
Yeah, so it's the total package, right?
Yeah, but also tilak specifically is the mark of Lord Vishnu. It's something in relation to Lord Vishnu. So one certainly gets some benefit from seeing that. Yeah.
Well, this is one of the reasons Prabhupada wanted us to dress as devotees when we get out there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the whole movement became famous, George Harrison. So it says, oh yeah, I know those guys. Those are Hare Krishnas.
Yeah.
Boom! They just chanted Hare Krishna or thought Hare Krishna. So you see the value of this being, tilak is very important, as the mark of it. And half the people that come to the temple, they just want to know, well, what's that on your face?
Yeah.
And then they're in the temple.
Yeah. We're trying to get Suresh to put on tilak.
You can do it, but it's okay.
Yeah. You have your wife put it on. Easy. Or I can put it on for you. When you come, next time tomorrow, when you come, I'll put tilak on you. Yeah. Okay, Vijay Krishna Prabhu, sorry.
No problem, Amogha Prabhu. Thank you very much. You're most kind. Dandavat Pranams Prabhu. The last sentence of the purport says that the demoniac activities directed against them, the devotees, will not be able to stop their devotional service. So based on this quote, my question is, how do you explain that Rupa and Sanatana did become employees of the Muslim ruling at the time?
Well, they weren't. Yes, they became employed as ministers in the Muslim government, but that doesn't mean that the devotional service was stopped. We see Sanatana Goswami. He was reading the Bhagavatam, discussing the Bhagavatam with some brahmanas, and certainly at all times they were remembering Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and their relationship with him and their service to him. So just by that remembrance, and the one thing I emphasize in the class is that's something that can never be taken away from a devotee if he's sufficiently surrendered and if he's sufficiently advanced in devotional service. Then in that way, one's service can never be hindered. Another thing is also that they left. They were able to get out of that service and go and engage directly in the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I think Dravida Prabhu has something.
Yeah. This basic question also, puzzled me. How did they get into the service? And I have to confirm this, they were coerced. The Noah threatened to persecute the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas unless they came into, because he saw the value, they were so intelligent, unless they came into the government and served as the prime minister and the finance minister. And so that's how they did it. It wasn't that they just thought, this will be profitable or something like that. They were coerced into doing it, and so they did it in order to protect the Vaishnavas and the Brahmins, which is, you understand that, Vijay?
Yes, I do understand, Dravida Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Nice discussion in class, Prabhu. Do you have time for a small question, or maybe I can do two more?
Well, I think we can adjourn, and then you can ask me, and everybody can go on their way if they like.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
No. You can ask me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Prabhu, my question is, I've been thinking about asking for a long time. So you mentioned today in the class that mentally we can also like think about Krishna, and I just want to know whether is it okay to think that whatever I've been to Dham and I think about in Vrindavan, like Nandagaon and all these places where Krishna did Lila, and is it okay to think about like Kadamba tree and all this when we see the trees? It's not spontaneous, it's not like sajya or spontaneous. We can think about it, right? It's okay to do that, because I think about sometime and I'm like, is it proper or not?
I don't see why not. If one sees a mountain, one wants to remember Govardhan. Yeah, I see nothing wrong with that.
Oh, okay, that's very good. Thank you. So in like if we are I went to Nandagaon and other Ayodhya and everything. So I was just thinking that just how Krishna did the like got tied in the mortal and all these, that Lila I think about in myself, in my mind, and I always thinking that's not the spontaneous. We are not there yet, but we can think about that part. It's true, right? Like all the Lilas.
Yeah, the pastimes. Yeah, that's what we're meant to do. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.